A little girl lived inside a home that became anything but safe. Teachers noticed the bruises. Doctors questioned the injuries. Social services were notified, again and again. And still, she was sent back. By the time the truth came out, it was too late. This is the story of Raylee Browning, a child who asked for help, and a system that failed to answer. Welcome to Cold Case Beacon. I have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers before January 31st. If you believe stories like Raylee's deserve to be told, help me reach that goal by subscribing right now, share this with a friend who cares about protecting children, and thank you for being here. Now, let's begin. Raylee Browning was born on July 11, 2010, in Beckley, West Virginia, to Marty Browning and Janice Riston. To everyone who met her, Raylee was gentle, with strawberry blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and a smile that could soften any heart. Her mother called her sunshine. She dreamed of becoming a teacher, seeing the ocean, and riding a horse. She adored Disney princesses, especially Rapunzel. From birth until age 2, Raylee lived with both parents. But Janice's struggles with substance use turned their relationship into conflict, forcing separation. Social services stepped in. A judge gave both parents months to stabilize before revisiting custody. By September 2012, a mediator established a 50-50 arrangement. Raylee would spend Thursday through Sunday with her mother, the remaining days with her father. During this period, Marty began a relationship with Julie Tichenelle, a single mother of 3 and former beauty queen. They moved in together. By the time Raylee was 4, they relocated to Mount Lookout, West Virginia, in Nicholas County. Taking Raylee was a direct violation of the custody agreement. Marty never informed Janice. He provided no address. When Janice tried to reach her daughter, Marty ignored calls and messages. Janice went 4 months without seeing Raylee. She filed a complaint with family court. Through that process, she obtained Marty and Julie's address. Throughout this period, they moved twice more without notice. Marty faced no consequences. Janice had legal matters requiring court attention, making visits inconsistent. Marty was granted weekday custody. Raylee began attending Mount Lookout Elementary School. Living with Marty and Julie were Julie's 3 biological children and her sister, Sherry Tichenelle. According to Julie's teenage daughter, Brooklyn Minix, Sherry held authority in the home. She acted as primary caregiver and showed clear irritation toward Raylee because of racial differences and because Raylee wasn't Julie's biological child. Raylee simply existed there. She rarely received positive interaction. She frequently became the target of Sherry's harsh treatment. Sherry used her hands or household objects in ways that caused pain. She once pushed Raylee into the cat's litter box. Brooklyn said Raylee slept on a mattress on the floor in Sherry's bedroom. She was sometimes forced to wear a diaper despite being toilet trained. One day, Brooklyn heard a loud thud from Sherry's room. After that sound, Raylee disappeared until the next day. When she reappeared, she could no longer walk or stand. Instead of showing concern, Sherry muttered, "Suck it up, Buttercup." The adults claimed Raylee would pinch her own skin and urinate on her mattress. There was no reliable way to verify this. Eventually, they took Raylee to the hospital. When the doctor asked what caused her injuries, Sherry said the little girl had kicked the wall and fractured her femur. She described Raylee as difficult, easily upset, prone to losing control. This hospital visit was far from unusual. From 2011 to 2018, Raylee was repeatedly examined for suspicious injuries. Each time, doctors contacted Child Protective Services. To avoid scrutiny, Sherry instructed Brooklyn to lie to the social worker. Though frightened, Brooklyn followed orders. She repeated the fabricated story. Teachers at Mount Lookout Elementary had repeatedly seen bruises on Raylee's body. They observed she was almost always hungry. Marty, Julie, and Sherry told the school Raylee had an eating disorder. They claimed she would overeat, vomit, then start eating again. They insisted she had a mood disorder and might harm herself. Carrie JoLynn, one of the teachers who worked directly with Raylee, saw something different. The little girl was normal, cheerful, energetic. Mrs. JoLynn saw Raylee every day in gym class, health class, art, and lunch. She never observed unusual behavior. But Raylee showed a deep need for adult attention. She clung to teachers instead of playing with children her age. When dismissal approached, Raylee begged to stay at school. She hugged Mrs. JoLynn tightly, whispering, "I love you. Can you be my mom?" One day, Mrs. JoLynn saw Raylee unusually sad. The child told her she would no longer see her mother. Her mother didn't want her, didn't love her, had a new baby to replace her. Mrs. JoLynn chose not to push further, afraid of causing more distress. Raylee was always provided breakfast and lunch at school. But Sherry told staff Raylee had an eating disorder and couldn't eat breakfast at school. The school nurse received a handwritten note supposedly from a pediatrician stating Raylee shouldn't have snacks. Mrs. JoLynn never saw Raylee vomit or show behavior consistent with an eating disorder. She only saw a child who was always hungry. When mashed potatoes and gravy were served, Raylee finished every bit, even licking the tray clean. After the femur injury, one of the adults called the school and repeated the same story given to doctors and CPS. As a mandated reporter, Carrie JoLynn immediately contacted Child Protective Services. The femur is the only bone in the thigh, the longest and strongest bone in the body. An injury like this typically results from significant force, like a car accident. Not from kicking a wall. Carrie noticed Raylee's clothes were often too small and inappropriate for the weather. Even in August during the hottest days, Raylee wore long sleeves and pants. One afternoon, Carrie handed Raylee a t-shirt to replace the pink sweatshirt she wore almost every day. While changing, Carrie saw concerning marks and bruises. When she returned Raylee's clothes, the child whispered she wasn't allowed to wear anything given by a teacher. The summer after kindergarten was especially difficult. When Raylee returned to school, she was noticeably thinner. Her face was hollow, eyes darkened, skin pale. Within 3 months of starting first grade, Marty and Julie withdrew Raylee from public school. They switched her to homeschooling with help from Lene Castle. Carrie JoLynn and the school staff had no further opportunity to see Raylee. When no mandated reporters saw Raylee daily, her life slipped into darker reality. Raylee was moved to another home, a house on Park Street in Oak Hill, West Virginia, in Fayette County. Once again, Janice had no idea where she was. If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who's truly following this shocking story. According to Brooklyn Minix, Sherry forced Raylee to walk up and down the hallway from the moment she woke until she went to bed. On some days, the little girl was left without food. Eventually, Raylee learned to sneak out at night to find scraps in the kitchen. When the adults discovered this, they installed alarms and locked the bedroom door. Brooklyn remembered walking past the bathroom once and seeing Raylee drinking water from the toilet. She had been denied water for days. Some reports note she was kept from water for up to 3 consecutive days. Additional documents indicate Raylee endured severe disciplinary treatment involving metal objects, belts, or wooden spoons. By 2018, just days before Christmas, the holiday Raylee looked forward to most, she began to fall ill. During the entire time Raylee lay on the floor, no one brought food, water, or medicine. Sherry insisted Raylee was pretending to get attention. She offered no help, even as the little girl's condition worsened. On Christmas Eve, Raylee's breathing became labored. Brooklyn panicked when she heard it, sounding like a pug dog, as if Raylee struggled for every bit of air. When Julie asked whether she needed the hospital, the little girl weakly said she did. No one was willing to take her. After days of suffering from fever, difficulty breathing, and being deprived of food, water, and medication, Raylee's condition grew severe. On December 26, 2018, Sherry Tichenelle called 911. Emergency crews were dispatched after receiving a report of a child showing signs of seizures. Angela Coleman, an EMT, witnessed the moment Sherry carried Raylee outside. Sherry claimed the little girl had slipped while stepping out of the shower. EMT Coleman described Sherry as almost emotionless as she handed Raylee's body to the medical team. Raylee appeared pale, barely breathing, with several unusual marks visible on her skin. When another EMT lifted her shirt to place defibrillator pads, they began resuscitation. Despite everything they could do, they were unable to bring back any response. Raylee was transported to Plateau Medical Center in Oak Hill and admitted at 11:55 a.m. Dr. Deepak Gadura led the effort to save her life. Nurses administered 4 fluids, medication, monitored her heart rhythm, performed CPR, applied advanced emergency procedures. Raylee was so cold the hospital equipment could not register her temperature. She showed no respiratory response, no detectable pulse. After 32 minutes, Raylee Browning was pronounced dead at 12:27 p.m. Medical staff observed numerous bruises, scratches, burn-like marks, and areas where the skin had begun to crust. The injuries convinced the medical team she had suffered prolonged harmful treatment. Marty and Julie were not allowed to approach Raylee's body. Medical personnel testified they had never seen a child's body marked by so many signs of trauma. When speaking with police, Sherry said that on the morning of December 26, she woke at 9 a.m., brought breakfast to Raylee's room, gave her 3 prescribed medications. She stated Raylee took a shower at 10:30 a.m. and her nose began to bleed. She claimed a doctor had told her it was a medication side effect. Sherry told officers Raylee slipped stepping out of the shower. She carried her to the bedroom, placed her on a mattress, propped a pillow to keep her stable. According to Sherry's account, Raylee was shaking uncontrollably, her pupils unusually small. She claimed Raylee's blood sugar tended to drop, but the family didn't check it often. Medical records showed no evidence Raylee had diabetes or any condition requiring blood sugar monitoring. Findings aligned with her lacking proper food and hydration. Sherry said she called 911 immediately, then contacted Marty at work. After Raylee was taken by ambulance, Sherry drove Julie's children to Mount Lookout before heading to the hospital. An autopsy was conducted at Plateau Medical Center on December 27, 2018, by Dr. C. Metten Savasman and Dr. Alan Mock, 2 chief medical examiners for West Virginia. They were unable to determine whether Raylee's passing resulted from an external factor or natural cause. The manner was recorded as undetermined. Findings showed Raylee had severe necrotizing bronchopneumonia, an infection that destroys lung tissue. She had likely entered sepsis where bacteria from the lungs spread into the bloodstream. Raylee's lungs were in early stages of fibrosis, scar tissue formation, a condition that only appears after several days. Her difficulty breathing would have been obvious to anyone near her. This type of pneumonia can cause clotting abnormalities, leading to blood collecting beneath the skin, creating patches resembling bruises or rashes, while causing the skin to turn pale. Severe dehydration and significant malnutrition left Raylee, who was below the 5th percentile in weight, far more vulnerable to sepsis. In addition to discoloration from infection, her body showed numerous injuries. Among them was a burn on her right leg with a shape consistent with contact from a hot object like the tip of a lit cigarette. The examination revealed Raylee had been given an alarmingly high amount of powerful psychiatric medication. Though only 8 years old, she had been prescribed 7 different drugs, typically reserved for severe mood conditions or developmental disorders. There was no solid evidence Raylee suffered from any psychological or developmental issues. These medications may have been used by the adults to control and weaken her rather than treat any legitimate condition. In light of the suspicious circumstances, Oak Hill Police Department launched a full investigation. Nearly a year later, on Monday, December 9, 2019, Sherry Tichenelle was arrested and charged with neglect or harmful treatment of a child resulting in serious consequences, along with an additional felony related to a child's death under a caregiver's supervision. Julie Tichenelle and Marty Browning turned themselves in and faced the same charges. Bail for each person was set at $100,000. Julie's siblings posted bail for her on December 14. Marty was released after paying bond on December 26, the exact one-year mark of the day Raylee was no longer with her family. Oak Hill Police Chief Mike Wisman stated the initial investigation was delayed because the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources failed to provide records to law enforcement within the required time frame. At the time of her arrest, Julie Tichenel was holding the title of Miss Oak Hill Festival. Immediately after she was taken into custody, pageant organizers stripped her of it. During the search of the home, investigators found a hammer and a sensitive item in the room Raylee had shared with Sherry Tichenel. In court, 2 family members were called as witnesses. Angela Young, the sister of Julie and Sherry, testified that all 3 had asked her to lie by saying Raylee had been healthy during Christmas 2018. Angela refused because she had not seen Raylee that day. Brooklyn Minix took the stand, telling the jury about the months Raylee endured harmful treatment, was denied basic needs, lived in conditions lacking physical and emotional care. She emphasized the adults fully knew what they were doing was wrong, yet continued to mistreat and neglect Raylee until the little girl could no longer fight. Medical personnel who were present the day Raylee was brought to the hospital testified. Julie arrived before Marty. When Marty showed up, he appeared confused and irritated. Julie remained unusually calm and asked staff how long the procedures would take. She asked this moments after being told Raylee was no longer responding. Several medical experts testified Raylee had been feverish and fatigued for a long period beforehand. Dr. Alan Mock stated that if Raylee had been given antibiotics early, along with necessary interventions including respiratory support, her life could absolutely have been saved. Simply taking Raylee to a nearby clinic or to her regular doctor would have been enough. During the trial, numerous issues regarding Raylee's medical history and mental health information came to light. When asked about the unusually large number of psychiatric medications Raylee had been taking, Dr. Mock explained the caregivers had provided information to the psychiatrist completely inconsistent with what her teachers observed. The detail that stood out most was the report from the school. A school environment is independent and capable of giving objective evaluation. The fact that staff confirmed Raylee did not display disruptive behavior made him question the accuracy of information her family gave the doctor. The caregivers had told the physician Raylee was overeating, even though she was clearly underweight. In the final rebuttal, Special Prosecutor Brian Parsons forced the jury to confront more questions than answers. He emphasized Raylee had likely stopped responding by the time Sherry called 911 on December 26, 2018. When Raylee arrived at Plateau Medical Center, roughly 15 minutes after the call, medical staff could not record her temperature because hospital equipment did not register anything below 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Normal body temperature should be around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. He asked the jury how a child's body could drop from 98.6 to 84 in such a short time. This strongly suggested Raylee had been unresponsive for many hours before Sherry called for help. Parsons reminded the jury of the most haunting detail in the entire case. Raylee's final recorded words were, "I want to go to the hospital." A heartbreaking sign she had desperately tried to save herself. Closing his statement, he stressed that Fayette County would be judged by how it delivered justice for Raylee. He pleaded with the jury, "Please do not let Raylee down." The jury began deliberations on the 6th day of the trial. Special Prosecutor Brian Parsons was appointed to avoid conflict of interest because Carrie Chiliberti's husband, Anthony Chiliberti, serves as prosecuting attorney of Fayette County. Since Carrie was a witness in Raylee's case, replacing the prosecutor was necessary. After consideration, the jury found Marty Browning, Julie Tichenel, and Sherry Tichenel not guilty of charges directly related to causing Raylee's passing, but guilty of child neglect resulting in serious consequences. The Fayette County Circuit Court of West Virginia officially sentenced them on August 12, 2022, under Judge Paul M. Blake, Jr. Each defendant received a sentence of 3 to 15 years and became eligible for parole after 3 years, while being acquitted of the more severe charge. These verdicts were later reviewed and fully upheld by the West Virginia Supreme Court, affirming that all three defendants must continue serving their sentences within the state prison system. Throughout the trial and after sentencing, the lack of support and oversight from CPS left many deeply concerned. The very system designed to protect Raylee had completely failed her. The caregivers knew how to exploit loopholes to avoid detection. Court records show CPS in Nicholas County did not provide necessary assistance for Raylee, even though teachers and others submitted more than a dozen reports during the roughly year-and-a-half Raylee attended Mount Lookout Elementary School. None of those warnings resulted in timely action. Carrie Chiliberti filed multiple reports with CPS after noticing troubling signs on Raylee's body, including the femur injury and bruises and areas of crusted skin on her legs. Raylee's first-grade teacher submitted an additional report after seeing a clear handprint on the upper part of the little girl's arm. Carrie Chiliberti stated she could not recall ever being interviewed by CPS about any of those reports, even though she was present the day CPS questioned Raylee. That interview was conducted by Joseph Sorrent, a CPS supervisor. After the session, Sorrent concluded he did not believe Raylee was a victim of harmful treatment. He suggested she was simply a targeted child who may have been coached. CPS worker Brianna Baker testified she had participated in at least 2 home checks after receiving reports Raylee showed signs of harmful treatment while living in the Browning-Tichenelle household. Each of these allegations was classified as unfounded. When Special Prosecutor Brian Parsons asked about the report concerning the femur injury that teacher Carrie Chiliberti had submitted, Baker stated she had never received information about such a report. Carrie Chiliberti expressed she completely disagreed with CPS's assessments of Raylee's case. Another CPS employee who took the stand was unable to provide even basic information related to Raylee's file. Since Raylee had been withdrawn from public school to stay home under Sherry Tichenelle's direct supervision, all mandated reporting channels through teachers were cut off. Lene Castle, a family friend who helped with homeschooling, testified she did not see clear signs Raylee was being mistreated or neglected. Castle said she had been told Raylee had a habit of overeating and claimed to have witnessed one instance in which Raylee ate until she vomited then asked for more food. Castle testified she had been in the home intermittently during the 3 days before Raylee passed and only noticed Raylee had a runny nose but did not view it as a sign of serious illness. To address growing concerns over lack of responsibility shown by CPS in Nicholas County regarding Raylee Browning's case, the West Virginia House of Delegates introduced a new bill known as Raylee's Law, House Bill 4440. The bill establishes that anyone with an active CPS record will not be permitted to provide homeschooling. It prohibits individuals with prior offenses related to child neglect, harmful treatment, or family-related violent incidents from serving as homeschool instructors. Although designed to strengthen protections for children, the bill faced opposition from a national legal group defending homeschooling rights. They argued state law does not require homeschooling families to report suspected mistreatment. In stark contrast, teachers and administrators within the public school system are mandated reporters required to act when they detect signs of danger involving a child. Current law does not require homeschooling cooperatives or associations to verify students have been legally withdrawn from public school, creating a significant loophole that allows some children to be isolated from mandatory oversight systems. Raylee's Law is still only the first step, but it is regarded as a necessary beginning for West Virginia and could become a model for other states. Removing a child from public school, where mandated reporting provides layers of oversight, and keeping them in an isolated environment with no outside observation makes it far too easy for harmful treatment to go unnoticed. That isolation creates a deeply alarming level of risk for the very children who need protection most. According to Carrie Chiliberti, Raylee's former teacher, the public school system is often the only safety net vulnerable children can rely on. The purpose of Raylee's Law is not to take away the rights of families who choose homeschooling, but to protect innocent children from the risk of harmful treatment in an isolated environment. Homeschooling itself is not the issue. The danger lies in the fact that some caregivers use isolation to hide troubling signs by removing children from school, the place where trained teachers and staff can observe, recognize, and report indicators that a child needs protection. When a child is kept entirely within a home that has no outside oversight, their chance of finding help becomes nearly non-existent. Raylee's memorial service was held on January 12, 2019, at Tyree Funeral Home in Oak Hill, West Virginia, under the direction of Reverend Richard Allen. After the service, she was laid to rest at Lee Webb Cemetery near the Dothan area. Her headstone features her bright, joyful face from her happiest moments, alongside the image of her beloved Rapunzel and the loving inscription, "Tread softly, my sunshine rests here." After Raylee's heartbreaking passing, Janice posted a poem by Liz Newman on her personal Facebook page to honor her sunshine, Raylee Browning. The words were filled with the pain and love of a mother who has lost her child, speaking of a shattered heart that continues searching for Raylee's presence, of familiar memories that quietly guide each morning, of a life story with too few chapters yet leaving behind a gentle and enduring legacy. The poem expresses that Raylee's absence has created a profound emptiness, but the love she left behind remains like an unbreakable thread, a quiet comfort that continues to lift and hold. And no matter how time moves forward, Janice's heart, in every moment, in every old and new memory, will always search for Raylee, the way a mother forever turns toward the child she loves most. Raylee Browning's story highlights the importance of paying attention to unusual signs and the crucial role a community plays in protecting children. Her story stands as a reminder that any system can develop gaps and the vigilance of those around us can make the difference between safety and danger. This is why the stories shared in true crime documentaries are told, to raise awareness and help viewers recognize issues that were once overlooked. Thank you for following Raylee's case with us today. We refuse to let her be forgotten. If this case moved you, or if you believe in honoring the lives of those whose stories deserve justice, please subscribe to Cold Case Beacon, leave a comment sharing your thoughts or a message in memory of Raylee, and share this video so her story can reach more people. Together, we can ensure that no child's story is forgotten. I'll see you in the next case.